Today is what's classically referred to in the United States as Yom HaShoah, Holocaust Day, or Holocaust Remembrance Day. But in Eretz Israel, in the land of Israel, it is not referred to as Yom HaShoah. In Eretz Israel, it's referred to as Yom HaShoah v'Hagvura, the Holocaust Remembrance Day and the Day of Gvura, of strength. And the question is, what are we talking about? Why did the Israeli government, from the inception of the state, decide to refer to this day as Yom HaShoah v'Hagvura, a Holocaust Day and the Day of Heroism? What heroism is there in the Holocaust? And this obviously begs a second question. It's probably the most obvious question with regards to the Holocaust, to Yom HaShoah. The Holocaust is enigmatic. It's an enigma. And the most obvious question, and Rabbi Nenner mentioned that I have an organization called Makom Meshutaf, where we go to secular kibbutzim, secular moshavim throughout Israel. We try to introduce concepts on the basics and fundamentals of Judaism without what we would call religious coercion, which is a very sensitive topic here in Israel. Perhaps I can give you a talk another time on that. But probably the most popular question, particularly when it comes to a secular crowd in Israel, is how could the Holocaust have happened? And if the Holocaust was such a cataclysmic event, such a catastrophic consequence, such as the Holocaust, which basically decimated all of European Jewry, if it could have happened, how do those who believe in God justify that it happened? What is the answer? What is the response? And it lends itself to basic questions on the foundations of faith. And what's fascinating is when it comes to the Holocaust, if you look classically at survivors of the Holocaust, there have always been one of two directions that they have taken. There are those survivors who have stated explicitly that because of the Holocaust, they have decided to reject wholeheartedly any belief in God that they might have had, and they are completely oblivious to religious subservience. But on the other hand, half the Holocaust survivors have said just the opposite. The Holocaust, the response to the Shoah, is that it strengthened their belief in Hashem, their belief in God. How is it? And I'll share with you on a personal note for just a moment, because it's hard for me not to include some personal innuendo. And that is, unfortunately, 4.5 months ago, we lost our dear daughter, Gila, at the young age of 18. Gila died by suicide, and it obviously shook our entire lives and threw it into complete topsy-turvy, chaos, as no one should ever know. And we have been in the process of rebuilding, reconstructing our own lives. As my wife and I say to each other, learning how to live once again. And there are those experiences that we had that we refer to as prior to Gila's demise, and now post Gila's demise. Almost as if we are living two different dichotomous worlds. And I can tell you that what's interesting is that on a personal Holocaust, if you may, the same response is classic, where someone loses a loved one and they either completely reject God and say, there's no way this could have happened to me if God was just, if God existed, if God was almighty. And then there are those who just the opposite. My wife and I find ourselves telling each other that we have never questioned why God did this to us, what God wanted from us. I shouldn't say never. There are many times when I do ask myself, why, what, when. But we didn't really question God's consequence with regards to our allegiance and our loyalty to subscribing to his existence. And so the question is, and I want to tell you that on a personal note, when it came to what happened to Gila, we didn't really question. When it came to the corona breakdown, whereby I am now strapped and stranded in the confines of my immediate home, rather than being the usual active person that I am and running around, that I have had issue with God. I have said to God, I don't know what you want from me. One thing, you take away my daughter, but now you restrict me from being able to find some sort and source of comfort by going out and being active and committing and doing. This is unfair. And the question is, what should be the response? Those who have emunah, those who have faith as we know it in God, could ask themselves, how do we have the audacity to turn to God and say, how could you have done this? How could you have caused such cataclysmic destruction that has ripped at the core of the Jewish community? Excuse me one second. Adina? Oh, sorry. Oh, when you're done, can you just shut the light and just close it? Thanks. Because it's blocking the head. And so classically, what we have to understand is when we ask that question of how could God have done this, or why did it happen, we have to understand that there really is no explanation. Not only is there no response, but that God doesn't necessarily owe us a response or an explanation. And yet, I want to offer you this evening a response to that question. And it might not be a response that sits well with you, but nonetheless, I think at the very least, it will resonate with your thoughts and perhaps with some of your understanding. Eov, we're all familiar with the book of Job, Eov, who might have been a prophet, who seems to have spoken with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, with God. The book of Eov is split into two. The first half of the book tells of Eov's successes, the building, construction of his business, of his wealth, the stature that he has in his community, the building and construction of his family, and the infrastructure that allowed him to become, or to be called, a respected individual. The second half of Eov is about how he loses everything. And he takes issue with God, including the deaths of his children. And he says to God and asks him, Achat dibarti velo e'ene. I have asked you twice and you haven't answered me. Ushtaim. And twice I have beseeched from you, God, explain why this has happened to me. Velo osif. I'm done, says Eov. I'm finished with my questions. Vayan Hashem et Eov min se'ara. Vayomar. Hashem says and gives him a response. V'gam ani odecha ki toshia lacha yeminecha. Hashem basically tells Eov that I don't owe you a response. I can't provide you, and I don't have to owe you any explanation to what happened in your life. Now let us understand something, my friends. That is a very uncomfortable position to be in. And it's an unfair answer by God on human terms. But what we have to understand is that it is a response nonetheless. Knowing that God does not necessarily owe us an explanation to everything that happens in our lives, including smachot, happy successes, and including avelut, or hashmadot, catastrophic failures, is a response in of itself. And that is where emunah, faith in God, begins to take action. We are expected as Jews to come to terms with that which we would call unfathomable. Otherwise, how do you explain the very fact that every single year, just a few or 2 weeks ago, a week ago, we sat around the Pesach Seder and we declared, Bechol dor vador omdim aleinu lechalotenu. Every single generation has our persecutors. There have always, or has always been, a consistent effort to destroy, uproot, and completely obliterate the Jewish people. From the Babylonians, to the Romans, to the Spanish Inquisition, to the Crusades prior to them, to the Khmelnytsky uprisings, to the Nazis in Germany. There have always been. And when we reflect upon Shiabud Mitzrayim, the slavery that was enacted upon us in Egypt, unfortunately, it should not necessarily stir, and it does not necessarily stir such emotion within us, because we as a Jewish people, unfortunately, have become used to being persecuted. Someone told me an interesting thing. We say, B'chol dor v'hi she'amda la'avotenu v'lanu. It is a precedent that has existed for our forefathers and for us. B'sheb'chol dor v'dor amdim aleinu l'chalotenu ve'akadosh baruch hu matzilenu mi'adam. But we are steadfast in our firm belief, whether we see it or not, that Hashem will come to our side and will save us. So we're all familiar with two songs that are sung with regards to the tune of V'hisha Amda. One is the classic that Rabbi Nenner and I sang since we're children. V'hisha Amda, V'hisha Amda, Lava. And if you sing it, and I'm not going to sing it too long because it's Sar Ba'alei Chayim to hear my voice, but if you sing it and you listen to that tune, it's basically a dirge, or it's a song. Actually, I shouldn't say that. It's a song that, it's a marching song that has slight happiness to it. Shelo echad bilvad. It's a jingle. And then the second song, the most popular song of the day on Pesach, by Yonatan Razael. Vehi she'amda lavote. It's this sad dirge, sad song, emotive, asking from us or begging from us to cry. The same words has one interpretation that's completely immersed in depression and one interpretation that is filled with joy or a jingle. Why? So someone told me something interesting. There actually is a question that is split between the Rishonim and the Acharonim with regards to this particular paragraph. We say, V'hi she'amda la'avotenu. V'hi, and it is a statute that exists for us every generation. What statute are we referring to? According to the Rishonim, we're referring to V'hakadosh baruch hu matzilenu mi'adam, that Hashem will inevitably come and save us. And according to the Acharonim, it's referring to the statute at the beginning of the paragraph. Shebechol dor v'dor amdim aleinu l'chalotenu. So one is saying, we are convinced that we will always be persecuted, and one is saying that we are convinced that we will always be saved. So one form of the song is sad and slow and morose because it's referring to the statute of persecution. And the second form, or the first form, I should say, the jingle, is referring to the fact that Hashem will always save us. Who is right? And the answer is both. Being a Jew means Atem ha'ma'at mikol ha'amim. We will always be persecuted. We will always be pursued. We will always be sought after. And yet, it also means that we will always be steadfast. Ve'akadosh baruch hu matzilenu mi'adam. That Hashem will inevitably save us and bring us to salvation. So there is significance in reciting Ve'akadosh baruch hu matzilenu mi'adam. And it's a pertinent message that if we can't understand it, at the very least, we are expected to incorporate it. If I were to lose sight for a moment after the demise of our dear daughter 4.5 months ago, of V'hakadosh baruch hu matzilenu mi'adam, I'd be lost. I'd have no life to live. I'd have no future to anticipate to. And my 2 granddaughters would not serve as a source of comfort to me. For what? But there is something to live for. And it does make sense. I often say to my wife, I'm actually not sure. Chas v'chalila, someone who loses a child and does not believe in God, someone who is an agnostic, or someone who is an atheist, how do they wake up every day? What do they anticipate? What do they look forward to? How do they see or face a future? Very difficult to understand. It is only by the mere fact that we can say, Hakadosh Baruch Hu Matzilenu Mi'adam, that is the only response that God expects us to have. And it's the only response that he equips us with. And now we can understand why this day, why the Israeli government insisted on referring to this day as Yom HaShoah V'Hagvura, Holocaust Day and the Day of Heroism. The simple understanding, if you ask a secular Israeli, he'll tell you, oh, it's very simple. The reason why they refer to a day of heroism is because it's referring to the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising, which was an act of heroism. But observant religious Jews will tell you a different answer as follows. When we sat at the Seder Pesach a week ago, we said the famous Mishnah in Masechet Psachim. Rabban Gamliel Omer, Koshelo Amar Shlosha Dvorim Ha'elu Bepesach Lo Yatsa Yedei Chovato. Someone who does not utter, describe, express these 3 things, attributes, mitzvot at the Seder Pesach, has not absolved himself of his obligation. What are they? We know. Pesach, Matzah, Umaror. But think about it. The order that Rabban Gamliel puts them in is completely wrong. If we are telling over the story of Yetziat Mitzrayim, it should have said Maror, Matzah, and Pesach, or Maror, Pesach, Matzah. Maror, we had a bitter life in Egypt. Pesach, we offered the Korban Pesach. And then Matzah, we have the unleavened bread because we had to flee from Mitzrayim, Egypt, etc. Why do we first emphasize Pesach according to Rabban Gamliel? And I saw an interesting answer by Rav Kook. Rav Kook explains that Rabban Gamliel was not speaking to the present or the past generations. He was actually speaking to future generations. And what he was saying was, look at what the Jewish people in Mitzrayim did. Enslaved for 210 years, embittered, broken, battered, tattered, and torn. You know what I said the week of my Shiva? I said I somehow started this put something on Facebook. I said, what? You think that the people who came out of Mitzrayim, who came out of Egypt, didn't lose children? You think they didn't experience the death of their families? You don't think they went through a personal Holocaust? They were broken. And yet, God told Bnei Yisrael in Mitzrayim, prior to their exodus, grab the seh, the keves, the lamb, which was worshipped by the Egyptians as a god, as a deity, and slaughter that lamb in front of them, whereby you will proclaim that you know who the right God is, that you are capable of taking your salvation into your hands. You seize the lamb, you slaughter it, you offer its blood, and you partake from it. And by this you proclaim to God and you proclaim to the world that we are capable of taking action in our salvation, that we are capable of bringing ourselves out of Mitzrayim with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, with Hashem. Because that's the ultimate reaction that Hashem wants us to have. Not that we rely wholeheartedly on Him, capital H, but that we rely on Him in order to promote us, to be a part of our future, to make and build our future, to demonstrate a partnership. It says Rav Soloveitchik, it's for this reason that Am Yisrael did not celebrate or sing when they came out of Mitzrayim. Because when they first came out of Mitzrayim, it was biyad chazaka ubizroa netuya. God did everything. But at Yam Suf, when we had to jump into the sea, when we had to muster up our courage and our strength to cast ourselves into a sea, that's reason to sing. Rav Soloveitchik says at that moment, Am Yisrael became partners with Hashem. We were part of our salvation with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And that's what Hashem is looking for. And it is for this reason that on Yom HaShoah, it is not called Yom HaShoah, but Yom HaShoah ve'agvura. The Israeli government made a proclamation. Never again. We will never be butchered. We will never be sacrificed. We will never allow another nation to prosecute us. We will continue to be part of our salvation. With the establishment of Medinat Yisrael, with the establishment of Tzva HaHagana Yisrael, Israeli government, Israeli infrastructure, Israeli army, and the Israeli people. The people of Israel, which, by the way, includes all of you, whether you know it or not. But we are expected to be a part of that salvation. There are military cemeteries spread throughout Eretz Yisrael. And in almost every single military cemetery of the Tzava, of the army, there are anonymous graves. No names. People buried there. Who are they? I'll tell you. These are people who came to the shores of Palestine, 1946, 1947, post-Holocaust. They came to the shores of Palestine, and these Holocaust survivors were not greeted with flowers, and they were not greeted with care packages, and they were not greeted with money. The partisans, the Israelis living in Israel, greeted them with guns And they gave them guns and they said, Bruchim Habayim, welcome to Eretz Yisrael. Now do us a favor. Take a gun and go and fight for the liberation of the state of Israel. Any normal person would say, in all due respect, my friend, I don't know if you know where I've been. I've been to hell and back 5 times over. My fighting is done. I'm a survivor. But that's it. Dayenu. Ilo hotzianu miMitzrayim velo natan lanu et Eretz Yisrael. Dayenu. If you took us out of Egypt and didn't give us Medinat Yisrael, you know what we'd say? It's okay. I made it. But these people were not normal. They took the guns and they went out and they fought. And many of them were killed in Milchemet HaShichur, in the War of Independence. And no one knew their names. And they had no survivors from their families. And they are buried in military cemeteries anonymously. And every single Yom HaZikaron, Remembrance Day in Israel, groups of students go to these anonymous graves and they say Kaddish. That is what it means, Yom HaShoah v'Hagvura, the inner spirit to grab the gun, the inner spirit that says we will not be broken, the inner spirit of a Hammer family who loses a daughter and who is not willing to say that I'm done. Because today I spoke to a colonel in the army. He's a colonel in the reserves. It's a friend of mine. He lost his father 30 days ago. And he sent me a picture of his kever, of the matzeva of his father, which is shaped in the form of Eretz Yisrael, the rock. And I sent him back the matzeva of our daughter Gila. And he wrote me back, Ani lo yodea eich atem mamshichim lichyot. I don't know how you continue to live. And I said to him, my friend, it's the only answer is to continue to live. The only answer, the only way of making sense of Gila's death is by making sense of our life. The only way of making sense of 6 million gone is by making the 6 million who are here count. And that is what we're here for. Any other nation, but not us. And it is for this reason that I was, last night, I couldn't believe it. They have a program here in Eretz Yisrael, which is called, I don't know if you have it in the States. I don't think you do. You should. It's called Zikaron Basalon. It means remembrance in the living room. Remembering in the living room. What they realized was that there are many Holocaust survivors who are very uncomfortable talking about their story. They have still not, they have told people that they're survivors, but they do not come out publicly with what happened to them and the descriptions and the details. And they have found that if you take these Holocaust survivors and put them in someone or in one of their relatives' living rooms, in a small setting with 15, 20, 30 people, who are prepared to hear their story, that they then open up. And it's an unbelievable program that they run here in Israel, and it's extremely successful. I run a program with the kibbutzim called Limudon Basalon. I feel that if they're secular and perhaps publicly decline in interest in studying Torah or knowing about God or religion, etc. So I find that if we do it in a small setting, in a living room, there sometimes is different reaction. So I've adopted that program. But for the Holocaust, it's extremely effective. So last night on Zoom, there was a speaker in someone's living room, someone's grandmother, and she said, I couldn't believe it. She said that she was 14 years old when she was brought to Auschwitz, Hungarian Jew, and when she got off the platform of Auschwitz, all of you know, Mengele was there, and he said, those to the left and those to the right. Those to the left, they didn't know it at that point, were going to their gas chambers to their death. And she was sent to her left with her mother. And as she was walking, she happened to have long blonde hair, which was braided. And Mengele took notice of her. It's unbelievable. Mengele, the angel of death, took notice of her and called her over and said, "Are you a Jew?" And she said, "Yes, I'm Jewish." He said, "You have the most beautiful blonde locks and the most beautiful blue eyes." He said, "Are you sure you're a Jew?" She said, "Yes, I'm a Jew." He said, "Go to the right and never tell anyone again that you're 14. Tell them you're 16 or 17, I think he said." And she said, "I'll go to the right, but my mommy is over there. Can she come too?" And he looked, Mengele looked at her mother, and he saw she also had beautiful blonde hair, and she said, "Come, go with her." And then she said, "Can my aunt come with her as well? Come with us." And her aunt was short and had brown hair, and he said, "No." The angel of death for this girl became the angel of life. If Mengele could figure out that this young girl should be spared, that she could cherish life for the rest of her life, for the rest of her days, and that last night she could give testament to it, then who are we to decide that we cannot and are not equipped to do something with our lives? And it is for this reason that Rav Kook explains that the first mitzvah that we do on the second night of Pesach, the first mitzvah on the second day of Pesach, we go out to the threshing floor where there is new wheat, and we thresh the wheat and cut the wheat, the beginning of the period of the Omer. And the Torah, Be'echel HaCharmesh, the Torah says we go out and we cut from the floor. And according to the Gemara, even if the second day of Pesach falls out on Shabbat, we still do this mitzvah. Why? And Rav Kook explains that a Jew has to grab hold of Eretz Yisrael, and by threshing the floor of Eretz Yisrael, because the Omer is only a mitzvah in the land of Israel, he makes a statement: I am part of making this future happen. I plant and I sow and I plow and I fertilize. And now I can reap the benefits to make it happen. And that is Eretz Yisrael. That is what we celebrate during this period of time. And it is precisely for this reason, my friends, that Yom HaZikaron, Remembrance Day of Chalalei Tzahal, Nifkei Terror, soldiers who died during their service, and people who, Shalom Eida, victims of terror here in Eretz Yisrael, how this day, Remembrance Day, leads directly into Yom HaAtzmaut, Israel's Independence Day. It makes no sense. How do you go from being immersed in the morose sadness, reflection, commemoration, and 5 hours later, you take an about face, and there's fireworks, music blasting, people dancing the hora in the streets, bands playing, people drinking, barbecues. How can it be? How do you expect us to go from a time of sadness to a time of jubilation? It was in 24 hours. Isn't it disrespectful? And the answer is it's Jewish. Judaism says immediately after you go through that remembrance and the sadness and the commemoration, you're now expected to move on. You're expected to live. You're expected to develop. You're expected to further the development of the Jewish people and the Jewish land. And anyone who thinks otherwise does not understand what the Jewish people are about. And I close with the following thought. I once went to, not on the March of the Living, but it took with a Holocaust expert, a group of students to the devastated communities, the destroyed communities in Europe, in Eastern Europe. And he was the historian, it was fascinating. And I was the token rabbi. And I can't forget, we got to this particular synagogue, a shul that was in a town, a city called Tarnów Dubrovsky. For those of you who saw Schindler's List, Amon Goetz, who was the commandant of Plaszow, you remember the, what's his name, Ralph Fiennes, I think they call him. He won an Oscar, I think, for it. And he was a brutal, horrible man, obviously a Nazi, a murderer, but he was terrible, terrible fear. I think they called him, I don't know, the butcher of Plaszow, or the demon of the angel of death, or demon of death, mashu kazeh. And he used to shoot people randomly from his balcony. He would just shoot Jews randomly as they were going through their day. And he was also in charge of, this guy, Amnon Goetz, was in charge of the evacuation of Tarnów. And the Tarnów shul was a huge, beautiful edifice. Before the Nazis fled from that area, as the Allies approached, they blew up the shul. But the shul structure, the entire edifice, remained standing. And when we got to this shul, we were told that according to the Polish government, you are not allowed to go into the shul because it's considered a hazardous place, but it's still standing. You can see the outside, you can't go in. So once, of course, I heard this, it piqued my curiosity. Rabbi Nenner knows me well. I'm a rather rambunctious fellow, a troublemaker when I was a kid. Maybe still now. And I'm going to meet you, Rabbi Nenner. And I went into the shul. I climbed into the shul. And the shul was supported by beams, by these this metal structure, holding it up. And I looked at every wall of the shul. On every octagonal wall of the shul, there was a painting of a different city of Eretz Yisrael. One had Hebron, and Tzfat, Yerushalayim, Tveria, and it obviously meant some of the pictures were not accurate because they hadn't been there. But I then went outside. I thought to myself, shul standing in the middle of Tarnów Dubrovsky. Nazis attempted to destroy it. Inside, the pictures of Eretz Yisrael. And outside, along the entire surface of the shul, is etched in stone the pasuk from Yeshayahu Hanavi. V'natati lechem yad vashem tov mibanim umibanot shem olam natan lehem ubrit avot labanim tizkor. It's a pasuk that we say every single time we read it in the Haftarah of Ta'anit Tzibur when we have a fast day. It says Yeshayahu Hanavi, I will give you a Yad Vashem, a hand and a name. Tov mibanim mibanot, greater than all children. Shem olam eten lahem ubrit avot lavanim tizkor, I will give you my name forever. And I will never forsake my covenant with you. You want to know response to the Holocaust? That's the response. The Brit, the covenant, that we are convinced that HaKadosh Baruch Hu will always have with us. I sent a video around. It was on my Facebook page for those of you who want to see. You just go Shalom Hammer on Facebook and you'll see it. It's a video of a Air Force Israeli pilot who calls his Savta. His Savta is 89 years old, his grandmother.
Absolutely.
He says to Savta,
amazing.
I'm going, what?
It was amazing.
You saw it?
I shared it all over.
Oh, you shared. Did your students see it?
No, I will show it, I guess, when the credits roll or something.
Yeah, I'd like you to do, you could do that. The video shows that she goes, he calls his Savta and he says to her, I'm going to fly my plane over. I want to see you, wave to me. And she goes up to the rooftops and she sees him fly in his plane over and she waves to him. And she says, the last time I awaited planes was when I was in the Holocaust in the fields. The Germans bombarded everything. I was 10 years old running away. And now I stand and I can wave at my grandson flying his plane over me. She said, that gives me a source of comfort. That is our response. That is the Jewish response, because that is who we are. The only lesson that we can learn, or that I think we have to learn from the Shoah, from Yom HaShoah, from the travesty of what we call the Holocaust, Yom HaShoah ve'hagvura, is that it ends with gevura, is that our resilience, our ability to say, yes, we do understand and we embrace and we appreciate what is called the value of life. That is who we are. And I think that is what has to be our response. This morning, I studied just like 10 minutes with our 16-year-old son. We call him Swilly Boy. And he learned with me. He has classes on Zoom, and he agreed to learn with me for a few minutes. And we learned Parshat HaShavua with Rashi. And we opened the first Rashi on this Parsha Tazria. I don't know if in the States, is that where you guys, I'm assuming that's where you guys are up. I don't know, maybe you're not up. Yeah, you are. No,
I think we're on Noah. We catch
well,
up
if you just wait
a little differently.
for someone who says that they haven't left their house since Rosh Hashanah, so that's accurate.
The last thing I heard in shul, quite honestly, was Megillah Esther.
So I'm not even talking about shul. We don't have shul either. But the parsha bias theoretically is Parshat Tazria. And Rashi, the first Rashi on the parsha, says an amazing thing. Rashi says the first opening of the parsha is Isha ki tazria, v'yalda zachar, woman who is with seed and gives birth to a male, a boy. Says Rashi, כשם שיצירתו של אדם אחר כל בהמה חיה ועוף במעשה בראשית, listen carefully, just like in the creation of the world, what is described first is the creation of the animals and the beasts and the birds, and then man, כך תורתו נתפרשה אחר תורת בהמה חיה ועוף. So too, the halachot of man's creation are also after the halachot, the laws of animals. Because in last week's parsha, this past week's parsha Shmini, the last laws that appear in that parasha are the animal laws, laws of dietary restrictions, kashrut, kosher, what you can eat, what you can't eat, which animal, how, who, which oaf, which bird, which, etc. And my son said a beautiful thing. He said, maybe it's coming to tell us that first in creation and first in law are all the fundamental bestial part of the world. And after man arrives because man is expected to take the beast. Man is expected to take the animalistic, if you may, characteristics of this world and raise them to be called man. And that is why Chazal say that an animal's head lowered is always against the ground in order to eat or whatever, whereas man's head is upon his shoulders, steadfast and upright, because that is what a human being represents. The Nazis in the Holocaust treated us like animals and expected from us to lower our heads in degradation, embarrassment, like animals crawling on the floor. And Medinat Yisrael and Eretz Yisrael has given a reason to a grandmother from the Holocaust to raise her head once again towards the heavens and see her grandson fly that plane with a proud head raised towards the heavens. And that has to be our response. I hope and pray that all of us can look at a day like today and look at all the days, because according to the Rabbanut in Israel, Yom HaShoah, Yom HaAtzmaut, Yom HaZikaron, Yom Yerushalayim, Jerusalem, all of these days are called Yemei HaGeula, the days of our redemption. Let us hope and pray that even during this difficult time, where go and figure out what on earth is going on, that indeed it will reveal itself as steps towards our redemption, and will be zoche to be together with Am Yisrael in Eretz Yisrael, and that all of us will be part of constructing our future dream. Thank you very much.
That was beautiful.
Rabbi.
You're quite welcome. Should I, am I supposed to, I guess should I go to mute so everyone can ask questions, or just everyone's open to ask questions?
I don't know, but I just want to say that was beautiful and thank you for sharing.
Rabbi Nana, you're on mute.
I'm on mute?
No,
Oh, Rabbi Nenner's on mute.
Oh, okay. No,
Oh.
I wanted to announce that right after this, I'm submitting my resignation to the dean, and I'm going to ask her to hire Rabbi Hammer.
No, thank you.
It makes me look really bad, but that was absolutely incredible. And I'll send you the links for his stuff. When we finish with the questions, if it's okay, I'm going to play the video that you referenced. Is that all right?
Absolutely, absolutely. And you know what? Do me a favor, Rabbi Nenner.
Yeah.
Rabbi Nenner, if I send you a very short 2-minute video of Gila, would you be able to play that as well?
Yeah, sure.
Can I send it to you by WhatsApp?
No, best thing is to send it by email.
I don't know if I have it by email. Okay, don't worry. It's no problem.
No. Send it by WhatsApp and I'll forward it. I'll figure it out. Yeah.
Okay, that'd be
Tell me
great.
what it is.
That'd be great.
Do we have questions here? Unbelievable. Thank you so much. Very inspiring. Questions? Not all at once, please. Please. The computer circuits may fry if you guys ask all the questions at once.
It's okay if I left them dumbfounded. Go ahead.
I don't know. You don't have to answer if it's too personal, but like you said, you had a lot of like Amuna, like after your daughter, but was it any different with like say your like anyone else in your family? Like, did you have to work on that?
That's an excellent question. That's an excellent question. I'll separate it into two answers. As far as emunah, in other words, like faith and faith with Hashem and religious struggles. Baruch Hashem, I have not, with regards to my children, and they range from Kenahara 29 to 16, I have not had to deal with them. I mean, obviously we have discussions, and obviously we discuss how, what happened, why did God do this, or what, what exactly was the message behind it, what is Gila trying to tell us even now still. But generally speaking, it's been in other words, they've all pretty much stayed religiously where they were. I think certainly, and some are, less observant, some are more, and some are, more into things, and some less. But Baruch Hashem, all of them, as far as I know, are Shomrei Shabbat, etc. But certainly, I think at the beginning, when it was very fresh, yes, they all did take upon themselves learning for her shloshim, and there was certainly, obviously, a commitment to be at every minyan for Kaddish, because her two brothers, had to say Kaddish only for, and myself, but I continue, but they only had to say halachically Kaddish for 30 days. Our older son, who normally does not, go to minyan, although, he's religious, he's observant, but he doesn't normally get to minyan mostly. He came to every single minyan to say Kaddish. So there certainly was an awakening there that was positive in a sense, but they haven't struggled with their faith in God as a result of this. I haven't seen that. It might very well come. The second part of your question is with regards to family in general. And basically, I've taken upon myself, my wife, and we try to do as much as we can, but I kind of see myself as the dad, the stronger person in the family who has to kind of give that support. And each child has reacted very differently, and have emotional swings. So it is a very traumatizing, as you can imagine, a very traumatizing, horrible thing that they've gone through, that each one has to deal with, and that we have to deal with in their way. And obviously there's, therapists involved, and, whoever wants to see. I can't force them. I mean, they're older kids already. They're older and kind of out of the house, but it's available for them. But it's a struggle. It's really the repercussions of such a thing such a tragedy are unimaginable. So it's just constructing again, like I spoke about in the speech. It's constructing on a personal level as well.
Thank you.
Can you work at Turo also?
What I would like to say. What I would like to say is, if you girls could do me a favor, I don't know where all of you are from, but I do usually, I do go on lecture tours and go to many communities throughout the United States. I'm supposed to be in the States right now.
Everybody here.
What's that?
Everybody here is, most people here are from all over the country. We have someone from Vancouver, Atlanta, LA, White Plains. I don't know if that's all over the country. New Orleans.
I've been to many of those communities. I do go to speak as guest speaker in many places, including outside of the United States. But now, in fact, by the way, I'll just mention New Orleans is one of the communities I've never been to, and I've tried to get there. I haven't been successful yet. So if you girls, what's that?
That's Rebecca in the bottom there.
Okay, Rebecca. It's your mission now, Rebecca. So my point is that if you guys would email me, I can give you information about myself. My email's very easy. You can go on my Facebook page, Shalom Hammer, Facebook me, or I do better with emails or WhatsApps, but my email is rabbihammer@rabbihammer.com. My website is rabbihammer.com. As you can guess, it's all very easy the way it's spelled, rabbihammer.com. And if you could email me, that would be great. I'd love to either, if I can't get over to you personally, I can conduct Zoom lectures for you, for your friends, for your communities. I'm happy to speak and give guest lectures on Zoom. It's not as, not as great. I look much better personally than I do in the video. That's just a joke. But the point is that I'd be happy to do so, and I'd love to connect with more communities. So it'd be great if you guys would take that moment to be in touch with me. And you could also listen to my, I wouldn't call them podcasts, but my weekly or bi-weekly, I should say twice week. I post, short Divrei Torah that have to do with Gila, our daughter, connected on Facebook, on my Facebook page. And you're more than welcome to disseminate and spread that out also. That would be great.
I'm a huge fan, and I will definitely give out contact information, all that. Any other
Thank you.
questions? Questions? Do we have a question from anyone on the West Coast? Could be Canada, could be America. Anybody on the West Coast, west of the Mississippi? Anybody? I've actually heard we have here in New York, we have Hellman's mayonnaise, and then they say west of the Mississippi. Anybody know what they call it? It's called Best. So there
It's
are
called what?
Best foods or Best. They call it
okay.
something else, yeah.
I have
So
a question.
yeah, is your mayonnaise called Best or Hellman's?
I
Take
think
some thought.
Hellman's.
Go ahead.
Hellman. Okay. If we wanted to like keep, like, would you, if we wanted to keep learning about Yom HaShoah today, like, is there any like shirim that you recommend or like classes for us to listen to, like that to continue?
That's a good question. To think about that a moment. I'm sure, and I probably
I could
have
just
not
look
done it.
online, but I was just wondering if you recommended.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I actually have
No, that's okay.
a speaker for my second class today at 2:00.
Oh, okay, fantastic.
I mentioned Rabbi Katzenstein, who
I will just say, I mean, I generally speaking, I listen to a lot of things in Hebrew. I actually prefer to listen to shiurim, to classes or lectures in Hebrew, but I will mention some of the people that I would maybe listen to. First of all, I can try and, by the way, I could really try. We have in my email, I have the video or the link to to the survivor that I listened to last night. It's fascinating, and she speaks very clearly. So if you want, I can send you. What's that? Yeah.
Send it to us.
So I'll send it to Rabbi Nenner.
do you have do you see your chat window? Oh, you don't have to do it now.
I'm going to send to you, Rabbi Nenner, on your email that link. You could send it out to the girls. I'm going to send you by WhatsApp the videos, just 2 things of Gila, and you have the other one about the pilot.
Right.
And what I also recommend to you guys, there's a rabbi. There are some very interesting rabbis that you might want to listen to. One of them is actually a Chabad rabbi whose name is Rabbi Manis Friedman. I find he's interesting, and I think he probably does deal with things like the Shoah, like the Holocaust, and belief, and this and that. And that might be someone that you might want to look at in English. If I think of any other ones, but I'm sure if you Google and go on YouTube or whatever, you'll find many things. And if you can listen to Rabbi Manis Friedman, there's a woman now who's, I don't know if she's in the States now. I think she was brought back, but her name is Sivan Rahav Meir, who speaks pretty good English, and she might also have something on it. And also Rabbi Riskin is just, he's phenomenal. So I think, these are people that you certainly could look up and see. And Rabbi Sachs, Rabbi.
I've heard also there's someone, Rabbi Beryl Wine.
I'm so sorry. Oh, yeah. Oh, my gosh.
He actually has, if you Google it, he has a whole thing on Holocaust denial, which is amazing.
Oh, yes. I actually heard that. It's very good. Very good. I'm so sorry. That's our rabbi, Rabbi Beryl Wine, who's phenomenal. Listen, he has something on Holocaust denial. I think it was like 2 years ago, or something like that. I heard it. He's excellent. And he also speaks about the history of the Holocaust, which
What's
is
his
also
name?
very fun.
Rabbi Wine, I quote him all the time. But you guys...
Rabbi Beryl Wine, Wein. Okay, guys? So, Rabbi Nenner, I'm
Yeah.
going to send you the links. I'll send you the videos now on WhatsApp. I'll send you the link. And I want to thank all of you for having me, Rabbi Nenner. Thank you for hosting me. You girls are very privileged to have a rabbi like Rabbi Nenner teach you. I remember him fondly for months. He's a wonderful person and an outstandingly open individual and also a scholar. And you're very blessed.
And I knew how
So
to pick-
enjoy
I
the
knew how to pick good speakers, great speakers. So
Thank you.
I'm actually,
All right, guys.
yeah,
Thank
I'm-
you.
We should hear
Thank
B'sarot
you,
Tovot.
Rabbi. Thank you, Rabbi.
thank you so
All
much.
the best. Hope to see you guys in Israel soon. And don't forget to email
Amen.
me.
I'm amazed.
All the best.
Man.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rabbi.
Yeah.
Also, I got some
Absolutely.
confirmation from my mom right
I
now.
keep turning them out.
Nor,
Can I show you guys the video for a minute?
yeah,
Yeah,
you see the North screen?
It's unbelievable. I'm going to show you.
Rabbi Nenner, I have a meeting right now with a advisor, but can you send the link in the group also?
You have a meeting with an advisor?
Yeah, but can you send the link out because I want to see the video?
No, tell her to wait.
Hey guys, are
Joe-
we supposed to be registering for classes? I'm so out to lunch.
That's a great question because I haven't emailed anybody or done anything yet.
Rabbi Nenner, I'm taking your class next semester.
Oh, I'm very excited.
Yeah.
I hope that it won't be on Zoom, though.
Rabbi Nenner,
This is a liturgy.
Rebecca,
Am I
I was
supposed to
joking.
email somebody? I like have no clue what I'm supposed to be doing. I just like am existing.
How is your intro to liturgy
I was
class?
right.
you were right. I just texted my mom. I was curious.
Wow, best foods. You see, I was right. Rebecca, I was kidding about not being able to go. If you guys, whoever wants to stay on, I will play the video. It's 2 minutes. And well, yeah,
But when he sends you the videos of his daughter and stuff, can you send it to our group?
oh, absolutely. And I'm gonna send you. It would be great if you guys could, you know, send him, you know, an acknowledgement of thank you because
Yeah, that was amazing.
he's amazing.
Thank
Like
you
that was
so
like
much.
really. That was like he delivered.
I taught him everything I know, and
He also somehow
You're on
sent
fire today too, Rabbi Nenner. You're on fire.
He remembered to ask you.
what?
He remembered you right away.
Yeah, we're homies. He
Whoa.
went to a shul to bake matzah with him, and we also got like shears from him. And also I did it like twice because I was in Israel for 2 years. So we're homies.
Yo, I'm so jelly. Where does he live in Israel? Does he host for Shabbos?
Oh yeah, he's
I should have asked, but I didn't want to be like that awkward person who's like, by the way, do
Oh
you
my God, we should totally go.
he also, if you look at his website, he also was in the army.
Yeah,
Chaplain in the army. He's
What's
really-
his name?
Say hi.
Rabbi Shalom Hammer.
No, put it on.
It's like the first thing that comes up on Facebook when you type in like Shalom Hammer.
Yeah. Can I add him as a friend? Is that weird?
Is there not like a follow option instead of a friend option? Usually when they have public pages like that, they do like a follow.
I want to be his friend.
All right, hold on 1 second. Hold on.
Oh, he has a page on Facebook you can like.
Yeah, hold on. Hold on.
Mommy, hold on, I'm not on mute.
All right. Hold on. Yeah, but you gotta. I don't want to put you on if you 1 second.
If I want.
Hold on. It's got to be on right. Everybody see it? Everybody see where it says Israel? Israeli. Am I sharing the screen?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. Can you hear it?
סבתא, מה קורה? הכל בסדר. רציתי להגיד לך, אני בדיוק מתכונן פה לטיסה, ואנחנו הולכים לעבור מעל הבית שלך. אם את רוצה לעלות לגג, תוכלי לראות אותי. טוב, בהצלחה. ביי.
I don't know if you, I minimized the
אני
picture.
בדיוק מתכונן פה לטיסה, ואנחנו הולכים...
Hold on, little delay.
I've got to go, but I pulled up the video on my phone and I'll watch it
נעבור
later.
מעל הבית שלך, אם את רוצה לעלות לגג תוכלי לראות אותי.
טוב, בהצלחה.
ביי.
ביי.
כשהייתי בת 8 וברחנו לפני הפגזה גרמנית, שכבנו בשדה תפוחי אדמה, והמטוסים של גרמנים ירו בכל דבר שזז. היום ראיתי נכד שלי במטוס ישראלי. אני מרגישה גאווה ממנו, אני מאוד מתרגשת.
How's that?
Wow, that was incredible.
Okay. Please use the same link and password for Thursday. I'm not sure I'm going to top Thursday's this class, but how you guys doing on lockdown?
Bored.
Walking
I'm gonna go back to school.
This is Nati,
What's up, Nati? He's our homie.
your homie.
Say hi.
Nati is one of my twin boys.
You're
Let's see if I
twin?
can see on
Are
Khaled.
they identical
You knew
or?
this, Asya.
Say hello.
What?
Second.
You knew this.
I did?
Yes.
Okay, I knew that. Thanks, Tamar.
One second.
Me
I'm trying to get the other boy on. Hold on. Are you a redhead? No.
Nati, how old are you? 8? Isn't he 8? Are you 8? Danica.
He's 10.
I was close. 2 years.
10. Whoa.
Go off, Nati.
All right. Wish everybody a good day.
Have a great day. See you Thursday.
Thank you, Rabbi Nevner. Have a great day.
All right. So take the link for Thursday. If you want more information, write me an email and I'll send it.
Where's Khalid? Why is he not coming here?
See, call if they want you.
Khalid, come here.
I'm
Are
back.
you gonna send the other links that he sends you to us?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
yes, I
Thank
will.
you.
But if
Thank you
whatever
so
you
much,
need,
Rabbi.
otherwise, then send me an email.
Thank you,
All
Rabbi.
right, everybody, have a great day. Thanks for
You too.
playing.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Okay, bye-bye.
How do you use that?
Mhm.